Welcome to BB's Stage Door Canteen. This program is brought to you by the Bob and Dolores Hope Foundation. All right, everyone, welcome. My name is Ricky, and today we're going to talk about sound effects. And so for a minute, I want you to just listen, all right? So if I do something like this, what do you think of, right? It kind of sounds like something, sounds like the weather. It sounds kind of like rain, right? That's a rain stick, right? So it kind of makes a sound effect of what rain sounds like when it's falling or hitting something. I'm next gonna do this sound effect. What does it sound? It sounds like footsteps, right? Right? I'm not moving at all, but it sounds like footsteps, right? And then I have another sound effect for you all. What does this sound like? Right, it sounds like something crashed, right, or banged around or something, right? This is called a crash box, and it makes that sound. Sound effects are very important in theater and in any kind of art form, any kind of live performing art form. And this was especially important during World War II over radio, because a lot of entertainment was done via radio, because they didn't have television back then, and so they weren't able to do that kind of entertainment. And so in radio, though, you can't see what's going on. So they use sound effects to help convey what's going on. And this art of making sound is something called Foley. And Foley is named after a famous filmmaker named Jack Donovan Foley. And Jack Donovan Foley was a filmmaker in the 1910s. And he made silent films. But eventually, in the 1920s, sound was added to films. But what he noticed was that audiences really enjoyed when you could really hear exaggerated sound. And so he developed this kind of new art form called Foley. And so for Foley, what you'd have is you'd have a big screen, and on the screen they'd have the movie projected. And while the movie was going on, you would have Foley artists, as they were called, standing there and making different sound effects to the film, right? And these sound effects may not have really been that realistic, but it really got the audience excited about what was going on. It kept them interested. And so Foley became a crucial part of filmmaking in the 1920s. And then for radio, of course, radio, you can't see anything. And so really that kind of sound effect gets you entranced in the action, right? It makes you more involved. It keeps you more entertained, right? Because you feel like you're more a part of the action. And so today what I'm going to do is show you how to do your own sound effects at home. All right, so the first sound effect I shared with you was a rain stick, right? This is a rain stick. This is my personal rain stick. And you know, not all of you might have a rain stick at home, but there's an easy way you can make this sound effect with things you can find in your house. This is a rain stick I made from things that I found in my house, right? This here is a paper towel tube. I'm sure you have lots of paper towel tubes lying around. You can grab one of those. What I've done is taken some wax paper, right, from your kitchen, and you cut some wax paper out in squares, and you kind of put it on top of this, and you can use rubber band, or I use tape here, to kind of secure it on one end, right? And then what you do is you turn it over, and what you're going to put inside is some uncooked rice. And people have said, you know, try beans or other kind of dried grains, but I think rice sounds the best and sounds the most like rain. And you can try it with different things. If you try it with tin foil, you can try it with beans, you can try it with any other kind of paper, right? You're going to get different sounds, and you can experiment with this and see which one you like best, right? So I put the uncooked rice inside this. Then what I've done is taken a second piece of wax paper and put it on top and again secured it so the rice doesn't fall out and go everywhere. And you want to make sure they're pretty tight, right? Because if it's not tight, the rice is going to start falling out and your parents are going to freak out, right? So don't do that. So keep it nice and tight, and what you can do is you just move it slowly, and it kind of sounds like rain. Now, one thing that it doesn't really do is kind of get a delayed sound. And if you want to get a delayed sound, the other thing you can do to help that is to take a piece of tin foil and kind of wrap it in a spiral and secure it to one of the ends, right? And by doing that, you'll actually delay the rice falling, and it'll sound a little bit more realistic. But just for kind of a simple kind of rain stick, this works really well. The next thing I want to show you is something called a crash box. And this is a crash box. This is a popcorn tin, and I'm sure your parents have tins from Christmas or you know, any other kind of holidays where you put cookies and stuff lying around, or any popcorn tins you may have. All you need is one. And what you do is you put stuff in the crash box. And so I'll show you what I have in the crash box for mine. This is a flattened aluminum can. Okay, I drank the soda and then washed it out and put it in. I have a wooden block, right, just from a block set for kids. I have a couple of dominoes, okay, some plastic dominoes, and I have some pennies. And the reason I have all these different things is because they're all made of different materials, right? I have wood, I have metal, I have plastic. I also have some chopsticks in here as well. I broke some chopsticks and I put a piece in there. And I have a little bit of ceramic in there as well. And by combining all these textures, you're going to get a more interesting crash, right? And so on stage, if you're doing a play and you have a comedy scene, right, some old kind of Marx Brothers comedy where there's a lot of slapstick and things flying around, it's not feasible, right, to have things make loud crashes. And so you need to create those loud crashes. And that's the function of a crash box. So what you do is you put all these things in a popcorn tin, you close it up, and then what I like to do usually is take a piece of tape, a long piece of tape, and I just wrap it around the lid to make sure nothing flies out, because the last thing you want is stuff flying out of your crash box, making a mess everywhere. All right, tape that up, and then what you do is you want to hold it on its side, and you want to kind of move it forward and spin it a little bit, right? That's something crashing, right? Right, that's a crash box, and you can make your very own crash box very easily at home, all right? The last thing I'm going to show you how to do are footsteps. Footsteps are really easy. Now, I find the best shoes that work for footsteps are dress shoes. Dress shoes are good because they got a nice hard sole, and you got a nice heel, right? In this shoe you have a heel, and it's going to give it a more pronounced sound. And you really want that in order to exaggerate the kind of sound footsteps make. Right, if you're just walking around in your sneakers or your sandals, it's not going to make that big of a sound, right? And so what Foley artists would do is they'd have kind of shoes on a table, or they'd have them on their feet. You could have them on their hands or on their feet. They'd have a microphone right by them to really pick up the sound. And so what I've done here is I put my hands in the shoes, and then you can walk, and it sounds like wood. You can try it on a different surface. This is metal. Sounds different, right? And depending on what surface you use, it's going to give it a different sound. And you can also experiment with the way people walk, right? If someone walks flat-footed, that's what it would sound like. But if they walk more heel to toe and kind of roll their feet, it would sound more like this. Right? And so you can experiment with that. So I encourage you, while you're at home, to try these out and try to make your own kind of Foley effects. You can write a little play, you can write a little skit, and include sound effects and make it a part of this, right? There's a long history of Foley art in the theater and in radio and in film, and I'd encourage you to, and this is something easy you can do at home, and I'd encourage you all to try it out. Thank you.